This is my review of the Eagles' self-titled debut album, Eagles. It was released in 1972 and produced by Glyn Johns. So I guess my whole kind of history with this band and this kind of album is kind of weird. I liked one of their songs early on, but it's a band that I resisted getting into for a long time, and a lot of that had to do with I've been a big country music fan before getting into rock, and I kind of just I don't know, gotten over the whole country music thing. Was kind of trying to, I don't know, I was kind of trying to distance myself from that, and I just went through now I like country music again. It kind of took me, well, at least old country music, but it took me kind of a while to get back to that. I kind of had to rediscover it through the Byrds and then kind of get back into it and see that it could be cool again. But at that time I was kind of just I didn't want to hear anything that sounded even slightly country, and I just wanted to hear nothing but rock. So I kind of got turned off on the Eagles because of their kind of country sound. And from what I remember, basically my dad had the Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1, and then he had Volume 2 as well. And I borrowed both of those, and I was really into Hotel California already, which is why I wanted to borrow those CDs. And so I put that one on first, and I listened to it, and then it got to the second, and I was like, oh, this is great, I love this song. And then got to the second song, which I think is Seven Bridges Road off their live album. And that kind of just killed it for me. I'm like, oh no, they did this. So I kind of just I would listen to Hotel California, and then I wouldn't listen to anything else on that album. And I just kind of, I don't know why I never went past the second song, but I just didn't. And their first album, I put it on, and I heard Take It Easy, and I immediately was like, nope, because I recognized that from a country cover that I can't even remember who sang it now, but it was all on the 90s and stuff, so I knew it from that. And I don't really remember if I liked that version or not, but I just was like, oh no, not this. So I immediately kind of didn't listen to their first greatest hits. And so later on, when I was in college, I was writing a paper for a history class, and it was on country rock, because I had just gotten into Sweetheart of the Rodeo and the Byrds and the Flying Burrito Brothers and all that. So I was just kind of on my mind, and I wanted to do a paper about it. Well, I ended up basically having to write something about the Eagles because kind of how big they were and everything. And so I was like, well, I kind of have to listen to them now if I'm going to talk about them for this paper. So I went ahead and started getting all of their albums. I got them all pretty quick around the same time. I honestly can't remember what year this was off the top of my head. But yeah, within a couple months I had gotten all of their albums, and I don't remember, kind of as a result, I don't really remember the order I got them in, because it was kind of just random. I was just like, oh, I want that one next, I want that one next. I know I got the Long Run last, that's the only thing I can say for certain. But yeah, this one, I think it would have been one of the early ones I got. And I've always enjoyed it. I've always thought it was a really strong debut album all the way through. And so the lineup on this album, the original lineup of the band, they all sing, so I'm not going to bother to say vocals for everyone, but you have Glenn Frey on guitar, Bernie Ledden guitar, Randy Meisner bass, and Don Henley drums. And I think that, I don't know, so Glyn Johns, the producer for this album, he initially kind of rejected the band twice, and it wasn't until he heard them singing together that he was like, oh no, I see what I can do with this band. And I think their kind of great harmonies and great singing is really on display on this album. And also just kind of their more country rock side. I think that's the kind of what Glyn Johns thought was their strength. He didn't see them as a really strong rock band, but more of kind of a country band. So this album leans into that. That's just their. So the first song on the album is "Take It Easy," a Jackson Browne song that Glenn Frey helped write some of the lyrics to it. And I was already familiar with this song through the Greatest Hits album, because I did eventually get around to listening all the way through Volume 1. I don't think I actually ever listened to Volume 2 all the way though. But yeah, it's probably my favorite song on the album. I think it's a great opening track. Probably my favorite of the hits off this album or the well-known songs. I think it's just like kind of a great like opener for the band in a way, because it kind of just sums up like a lot of what they're all about and stuff, and just the way like their music goes, and I don't know, their whole like kind of like the attitude that's associated with them. So anyway, kind of rambling. It's really late. I had a really like long day at work, so it's probably going to be a really rambly interview. Anyway, yeah, I think Glenn Frey gives a really strong vocal on it. I really like the when Randy Meisner comes in on the second verse part. I think is really great. Cool banjo in it. Just a great song overall. The band sounds great on it. Second song, Witchy Woman, Don Henley and Bernie Leadon's song. I think Bernie had like the music for this, and then Don wrote the lyrics. Great vocal from Henley. Probably my second favorite of like the big songs off this album. I really like the guitar solo on it. I used to know how to play it. Kind of forgotten now, but I could probably figure it out. It was a fun little solo. I remember when my guitar teacher was teaching me to, and we were listening to the song, and we got to the part where they do all the high vocal stuff, and he was like, "Oh, they're just showing off now." But yeah, I think it's a really good second song. Third track, Chug All Night. This one, Glenn Frey song, and to me, this is the weakest song on the album. One of my least favorite Eagles songs overall. I don't know. I can't think of right now any that I like less than this, honestly. I'm sure there's probably someone longer it out of Eden. I don't know. I just seems like just kind of a song that he might have like tossed off in like 5 minutes, really. Just wasn't like a song that was quite there yet, I don't think. And that's not, I mean, I think that Glenn was a great songwriter. And I think that him and Don did some really great like work in the band, which really, you can't really see it as much on this album, but I guess the band kind of became more really, you had Henley and Frey, the songwriters, and then you had Bernie and Randy, the more like proficient instrumentalists. And that kind of like started to form like a split and stuff, but which isn't, I don't think, as evident on this album, early on. But anyway, kind of rambling. But yeah, just I think kind of a weak song, just kind of not all there yet. That's probably all I should say about it. So the fourth song, Most of Us Are Sad. This is another Glenn song. Kind of a slow song. It took me a while to appreciate it a little bit because of that, but it's got a really great vocal from Randy on it. I'll probably say this a lot, but Randy's my favorite member of the band. Just love his voice. I think he has a great voice and definitely adds something to this song. It's got some cool guitar parts in it, kind of cool sounding like effect or something on it. The fifth song, Nightingale. Another Jackson Browne song sung by Don Henley. I think this might have been kind of like a late addition to the album or something, from what I understand. I don't think that they were ever happy with it, or that Glenn Johns was ever like happy with this recording of it or something. But I think it's better than Chug All Night. Maybe not like the performance or whatever, but as far as like songs go, and I've always enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty catchy song. The 6-track, Train Leaves Here This Morning. Bernie wrote this with Gene Clark from the Byrds, and Gene recorded, I think, pretty sure Bernie's on Gene's recording of it on like guitar or something. I think on the first Dillard and Clark album, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've heard that version. And I think it's a good song, kind of slow, kind of more into their like countryish sound. But yeah, I think Bernie does a good vocal on it. It's probably not my favorite version of the song. I do think I like the version better with Gene Clark, but that's just because like, I don't know, Gene Clark's just kind of like up there for me as far as like vocals go. Which, not to say anything bad about Bernie's vocals, because I think he's a good singer. He does a really good job with it on here. My cat's playing with the tripod, so that's why it's moving around. So, the seventh song, "Take the Devil." Cersei, stop it. All right, the seventh song, "Take the Devil." Randy song, probably my favorite like non-hit song from the album. I like the bands playing on it a lot. I love Randy's vocal. I just think it's a catchy song and a pretty cool song from Randy. The 8-track, "Early Bird." It's written by Randy and Bernie. This one, it's got kind of some cheesy like effects in the intro, and then they go kind of throughout the song at different points. But overall, I think it's a cool song. Maybe could have done without that, but it's got some cool banjo on it. Strong vocal from Bernie. Overall, it's a pretty catchy song. 9th track, "Peaceful Easy Feeling." This one, Jack Tempchin wrote for the band, and for a long time, this was my least favorite of like the big hits. It might be tied with "Witchy Woman" now. Not entirely sure, but I don't know. It's I used to find it boring. Now I really like a lot of the guitar on it. I think Bernie plays probably some of his best stuff on the album, and I think he plays a lot of good stuff on this album. So that's saying something. But yeah, he's really playing some really cool country stuff on this. Probably my favorite Glenn vocal on the album. Really, I think he does a really good job here. So definitely a song that, while it used to not be one of my favorites, is now kind of risen a lot. And then the 10th and final track, "Trying," another Randy song. And I think that of the two of his songs, it's not the stronger one, but I think it's a pretty good song, pretty good way to close the album. It's good to get another Randy vocal anyway, so yeah, overall pretty decent song. So Eagles, their first album. I think it's a really strong debut album. There's really only one track on it, "Chug All Night," that I could do without. The rest of it, I enjoy listening to and wouldn't skip. And so yeah, honestly, a pretty good place to start with the Eagles, especially if you're interested in their more like country sounding stuff. So it's a really good first album.